There was a woman I heard about once who spent 30 years of her life trying to become someone else. Every morning she would wake up, look in the mirror, and make a list. A quiet, invisible list. Things to fix, things to improve, things to get rid of. Her temper, her anxiety, her tendency to say the wrong thing at dinner parties, her inability to just relax, her fear of being too much, her fear of not being enough. She tried therapy, and it helped a little. She tried yoga, and she liked it, mostly. She tried journaling, and cutting out sugar, and waking up at 5 in the morning, and meditating for 40 days straight. And every single time she thought she was finally getting somewhere, something would crack open again. Some old pattern would come crawling back like it had never left. And she would sit there, exhausted, and think, what is wrong with me? Why can't I just fix this? Maybe you know that feeling. Maybe you are sitting with it right now. That deep, grinding tiredness of working so hard on yourself and still feeling like you're not quite there, like there's some final, better version of you just around the corner, and no matter how fast you walk, you never quite arrive. I want to talk to you today about something that might sound a little strange at first. Something that might even feel uncomfortable to hear, because it goes against almost everything we've been taught. What if you were never broken in the first place? What if the problem isn't that you haven't fixed yourself yet, but that you've been trying to fix something that was never actually wrong? Now, I know what the mind does when it hears that. It gets a little suspicious. It says, but what about my anger? What about my anxiety? What about the way I shut down when people get close? Or the way I eat when I'm not hungry? Or the way I lie awake at 3 in the morning replaying conversations from 2014? And that's fair. Those things are real. The pain is real. I'm not suggesting we pretend it isn't there. But there is a very big difference between gently tending to our wounds and being at war with ourselves. And most of us, without even realizing it, have been at war. We've turned our own inner life into a self-improvement project, and somewhere along the way, without meaning to, we started treating ourselves like a broken appliance, something to be diagnosed, repaired, upgraded, made to run more efficiently. We approach our sadness with a toolkit. We attack our fear with a plan. We Google our anxiety and try to fix it before breakfast. And the harder we push, the more exhausted we become. There's something I've come to believe quite deeply after many years of sitting with this, with my own messiness, my own resistance, my own very stubborn patterns that I was absolutely certain I had dealt with and then found waiting for me like an old neighbor who never moved away. What I've come to believe is this: the very effort to fix ourselves is often what keeps us stuck, not because growth isn't real, not because things can't shift and soften and change. They can, they do, but because there's a particular flavor of self-improvement that is actually just self-rejection wearing a very hopeful outfit. And until we learn to tell the difference, we stay on the hamster wheel, running very hard, going nowhere new. Here is the radical thing that nobody really warns you about on the path of personal growth. The goal is not to become someone different. The goal is to become more honestly, more tenderly, more curiously yourself. The goal is to stop abandoning yourself every time you fall short of the imaginary standard you've set. The goal is to be here in this messy, uncertain, sometimes bewildering life with a little more warmth, a little more patience, a little more kindness toward the strange and fumbling human being that you are. And that requires something that feels almost counterintuitive at first. It requires that we stop running away from what we feel. Now, this is the part where I want to be very gentle with you, because I know what it's like to not want to feel what you feel. When anxiety rises, that tight, buzzing, restless energy that makes your chest feel like it's full of static, the very last thing you want to do is sit with it. You want to make it stop. You want to outthink it, out-breathe it, out-yoga it, out-scroll it into silence. And for a moment, maybe those things work. but the feeling doesn't go anywhere. It just waits. And the next time it comes a little louder. There's a teaching I love, one that has saved me more times than I can count, and it's very simple. What we resist persists. What we welcome eventually moves. Not because welcoming it is magic, not because saying, hello, anxiety, come right in, can I get you some tea, makes the anxiety disappear in a puff of spiritual enlightenment. It doesn't work quite like that. But because when we stop fighting our inner experience, we stop adding the second layer of suffering, the suffering on top of the suffering, the why am I like this on top of the sadness, the I should be over this by now on top of the grief, the I'm so broken on top of the fear. That second layer, the judgment, the self-attack, the desperate scramble to fix, that is often where most of our pain actually lives. The fear itself is workable. It really is. It's the war against the fear that wears us down. So what do we do instead? We practice something almost embarrassingly simple. We practice meeting ourselves with curiosity instead of aggression. When something difficult arises, some emotion, some pattern, some response you've seen 1,000 times and were hoping you'd moved past, instead of immediately reaching for the toolkit, instead of immediately cataloging what's wrong with you and how to correct it, you pause just for a moment and you get a little curious. You ask gently, without demand, what is actually here right now? Not what's wrong with me, not why is this happening again, just what is here? What does this actually feel like in my body? Where do I feel it? What does it want me to know? You treat it a little bit like you'd treat a frightened animal, quietly, without sudden movements, with patience. And here's what tends to happen when we do this. Not always, not immediately, but over time. The thing we were so afraid of turns out to be survivable. It turns out to be something we can actually be with, and something quite remarkable begins to happen. We start to trust ourselves a little more, not because we fixed the thing, but because we stayed. We didn't abandon ourselves. We didn't run. We didn't turn our inner life into a problem to be solved. We just stayed. And that staying, that small, quiet act of not fleeing from your own experience, is one of the most healing things a human being can do. Now, I want to offer you a few things to try. Not as homework, not as another item on the self-improvement list, just as gentle experiments. Things to play with. You can hold them lightly. The first is this. When you notice yourself in that familiar spiral, the why am I like this, I need to fix this, what's wrong with me spiral, see if you can place one hand on your chest, just that, one hand resting there, and say very quietly, even if it feels a little silly, this is hard right now, and that's okay. Not I'll get through this, not I'm going to be fine, just this is hard right now, and that's okay. You're not solving anything, you're not fixing anything. You're just acknowledging that you're a human being having a hard moment, and somehow that's enough. That's actually quite a lot. The second experiment, when you catch yourself reaching for the fix, the book, the plan, the 5 steps to healing your nervous system, pause for just 30 seconds. 30 seconds, and instead of reaching outward, turn inward. Just breathe. Notice what's in your body. Notice what's in the room. Notice that you are in this moment still here, still intact, still okay enough to be reading or listening or sitting in your kitchen wondering what to do with yourself. That aliveness, that simple, unremarkable fact of being here is something, it's actually something quite wonderful if we let ourselves notice it. The third experiment, and this one I love very much, begin to notice the difference between thoughts about yourself and your actual experience of yourself. The thoughts, I'm a mess, I'm stuck, I'll never change, I've been like this for years. Those are just thoughts. They're weather passing through. You are the sky, not the weather, the sky. The sky doesn't become the storm. It holds the storm. It lets the storm move through. And the sky, underneath all of it, through all of it, remains vast and open and fundamentally okay. You are the sky. The anxiety is weather. The sadness is weather. The old patterns, weather, they come, they move, they pass, and you remain. This isn't spiritual bypassing. It isn't pretending the weather isn't real. A storm is real. It gets wet and windy and uncomfortable. But you don't have to become the storm. You can be the thing that holds it. And the fourth, and perhaps the most important experiment of all, practice beginning again and again and again, with no drama, with no self-punishment, with no grand declarations that this time things will be different. Because here's the truth, and this is the truth I want to leave with you more than anything else. The path isn't a straight line from broken to fixed. The path is a spiral. You will circle back. You will see the same patterns again. You will have the same argument, feel the same fear, reach for the same old comfort. And when that happens, when you find yourself exactly where you swore you'd never be again, the most revolutionary thing you can do is be kind to yourself about it. Not because kindness lets you off the hook, but because kindness is the only thing that actually softens the ground enough for something new to grow. Aggression hardens us. Self-attack keeps us frozen. Shame locks the door and throws away the key. But kindness, that warm, patient, slightly amused, oh, here we are again, kindness opens something. Slowly, gently, without force, you begin again, not because you're starting over, but because beginning again is simply what living looks like, what growing looks like. It isn't failure to begin again, it's practice. And practice doesn't mean getting better and better until you're finally perfect. Practice means showing up again and again with as much warmth as you can muster for this one imperfect, irreplaceable life. The woman I told you about at the beginning, the one who spent 30 years trying to become someone else, something shifted for her, not because she finally fixed all the things on her list, but because one morning she woke up, looked in the mirror, and instead of making the list, she just looked, really looked. And for the first time in a very long time, she didn't immediately look away. She saw someone tired, someone who had tried very hard, someone who had been unkind to herself in ways she would never dream of being unkind to someone she loved. And something in her just softened, not broke open in some dramatic spiritual moment, just softened like a fist slowly unclenching. That is what this practice is, that slow unclenching, that willingness to stop fighting yourself for just a moment and see what's actually here. You are not a project. You are not a problem. You are a human being, confused and brave, and trying your best and sometimes failing and beginning again. And that is not a flaw in the design. That is the design. That is what it looks like to be alive. So if you take nothing else from this today, take this. The next time you find yourself deep in the cycle of self-improvement or self-criticism or exhausted self-scrutiny, see if you can pause. See if you can place a hand on your heart. See if you can say, with as much gentleness as you can, I don't need to fix you right now. I just need to be with you for a moment. That's it. That's the whole teaching. You don't have to fix yourself. You just have to stop leaving yourself. And if you manage to stay with this today, if some part of this landed somewhere soft and true in you, I'd love to know. Share it with someone who might need to hear it. Or just sit with it. Let it settle. Let it do its quiet work. And whenever you're ready, I'll be right here. We'll keep walking together.